Hi. I stayed home today from work. Again. I just couldn't get out of bed. Sometimes I know why, sometimes I don't. This is one of those times that I don't know why. And those days like this where I just feel like there's nothing. There's nothing. I have nothing to live for. I feed animals. I go to work. I feed animals. I go to work. Sometimes I might get to see a friend if I go someplace where they are. The thing about depression is people are like they're dead when they're still alive because the people that they care about have all abandoned them. The people that they like to be around, the people that made them happy, after a while they had to go away because people who are depressed do that to them. So you end up being all by yourself. It's like you're alive but you're dead. And you feel like if you did die, nobody would notice because it's like you don't exist already. So what's the point? I said it in an earlier video that depression is like the one illness where you have to walk alone. But you do what you can so you don't become dead for real. I take this. And I'm not embarrassed to say that I have depression because it's an illness. It's a medical illness. It's a chemical imbalance in your body and your brain. It makes it really hard for you to, it makes everything bigger. It makes all your problems seem so much bigger. And it's like, I don't know why, but at least in my case, and maybe it's the way it is for all people who are depressed, you become a target to people who think that, you just become a target. You're off your guard, you're not thinking clearly anyway, and then, especially if you mix that with alcohol, you lose your judgment, you lose your idea of what your priorities are. You'll do anything to keep a friend. Even if, I mean, anybody who's clear might think, you know what, this isn't a friend if they're asking me to do something like this that makes me shake and makes me cry the whole time while they're enjoying themselves. And then you get to be all confused about it and they don't care, they don't say a word to help you understand. Instead they work behind your back, to make your life, to destroy you basically. Or destroy what little thing you have that was letting you be around people and letting you be around people that, whatever. So here I am at the cemetery and I'm thinking about suicide. I'm thinking about suicide because I've been taking the medication, I've been in therapy. My friends aren't coming back. I try every day to be happy and I don't know what I'm doing it for because my friends are all gone. So I have this with me. I'm thinking about it. What's funny is I'm talking to a bunch of people on YouTube who don't even know me. And probably there's one or two people watching this video who's going to see me hold up that gun and they're going to get worried for me. They're going to get concerned. They're going to go, oh God, I hope she doesn't do that. People care, but it's funny. The people who care are the strangers who don't ever see you, don't talk to you, don't know you. The people that you spend your life trying to get to know and the ones that you come to care about, the ones that get to know you, they're the ones that don't care. They're the ones that It's ironic. You know, if I did that, if I took this gun and I shot myself with it and killed myself, I'd be gone. Religion's a delusion. Religion's a delusion. The idea of life after death is a delusion. It's not, nobody knows what happens after you die. But one thing's for sure, this life is not a delusion. This life is what we have for sure. I'm sitting here next to a grave. And I'm going to show the grave now. This is Sylvia Fadden. Look at the days. Look at the date. 1954, 1978. This was my former husband's Aunt Sylvia. She's 24 years old when she died. 24 years old when she died. She had a big family, a big wonderful family. She had a job. She had a big horse. She was beautiful. She was so smart. She had a son, or not a son, she had a nephew who adored her. My former husband, Mark, adored her. In fact, Sylvia was who I was basically competing with for his love, because the first time I realized that my husband didn't love me was we came to this cemetery. I don't know why we came to drop flowers off at somebody's grave. And Mark pointed out this grave, and he told me that when he dies, he wants his ashes to be buried with Sylvia. And I asked him, well, what about me? Don't you want to be buried with your wife? And he said, oh, you can be buried with her too. And that's when I realized that this man that I had been married to, by that time it was about 14, 15 years. And he couldn't understand why this upset me. That he would rather be buried with his beloved dead aunt than with his own wife. And it did upset me very much, because it made me realize that my husband didn't really love me. You know, he didn't really love me. And that was the beginning of the end for our marriage. I had given up having children for him. I had to choose between having children with somebody else or him, and I chose him because I loved him. And I lost him anyway, because in the end he didn't love me. And now he has a little girl. After pretending to be impotent with me for 6 years. You know how long it is to go in a marriage 6 years and not be touched, not be held? Sleeping next to the man that you love with the foot between you all the time. Never being hugged. I just finally had to give up. I went to New Zealand and I realized how depressed I was, because in New Zealand I got to be myself for my first time in my life. I got to be my own person, and I got to make decisions, and I found out I could take care of myself. And then I came back here and I started going back down into this depression again with my husband, living with him. And I couldn't, the only reason I finally was able to leave is I fell in love with another man. And I loved him so. I don't think I've ever loved anybody more in my whole life. Because he was like me. He liked the same music. And he had been hurt too. In fact, he was depressed when I was depressed, and it was partly why I was able to pull myself out of it, because I could see, I could put my focus on somebody else who needed to know that they were cared about. And that helped me. And I don't have any advice for anybody, except don't kill yourself. don't do what Aunt Sylvia did. I mean, you saw this grave. It's been here. I could come back in 10 years. It'll look exactly the same. She's never going to get to know so many things. 1978, she never even knew what a cell phone was. Or DVDs. She never got to get married. She never got to have children. I never got to know Sylvia. She liked Lord of the Rings, I know that, so we probably would have been friends. This is why I haven't done what Sylvia did. Maybe there's a friend out there that I haven't met yet. Somebody out there that sees me and doesn't see me as just somebody they have to tolerate and be nice to. They see me as somebody who's worth being a friend to, caring about for real. I try to give, I try to care. And they say, you get what you give. Well, I don't know why, but I seem to give and I don't get. And this was making no sense, this video. I'm not gonna kill myself with that gun. I'm gonna keep taking the meds and I'm gonna keep going to therapy. I'm not gonna do what Sylvia did. Because Sylvia is in the ground and she's gone forever. And who knows what friends she might have met. Who knows what wonderful experiences she might have gotten to have, but she never got to have. I have so many people that I've known that are wonderful and I miss them very much. And they don't miss me. But I have to believe that in this world there's some people that are wonderful and they look at me and they think that I'm wonderful too. Maybe I haven't met them yet. But that doesn't mean they can't exist. It doesn't mean that somewhere out there there's somebody who thinks that I'm worth it. I missed work today. I'm afraid I might even lose my job because I can't seem to get over. Sometimes it weighs me down so much that I spent the last 8 years trying to cultivate friendships, trying to be good enough, trying to... And here I am by myself and there's nobody. And sometimes I wake up and I'm so tired of trying. I'm just so tired of trying. But this aunt that I never got to know, she's who I think of when I think about ending my life for real. She's who I think about. And I'm making this really depressing video because I'm hoping it makes a point to anybody thinking about killing themselves. It doesn't help to think about all the people out there who have it so much worse. And there's so many people out there that have it so much worse. And sometimes, people will say, well, other people have, that doesn't help. Depression is an illness. You can't just think it away. Yes, there's people out there who have it so much worse. And then I get to feel guilty because I feel this way and I don't have so much worse. I have a lot of things to be happy for and a lot of things to be grateful for. But I don't have my friends. I don't have the people that I thought cared. I don't have anyone to talk to. Except my counselor, who's not a friend. So in my experience, that's a bad thing. Maybe if I had had a house burned down, and maybe if I had lost my children in a house fire, or maybe if I didn't have a house at all, maybe if I lived on the streets and I was hungry all the time, or maybe if I was dying of some horrible illness, losing all my friends, having all my friends turn their backs, not having anybody to talk to and tell me it's okay, wouldn't seem so bad. But all I can do is base my feelings on my experiences. I just know that I don't want to be in the crowd like Sylvia. I know one day I will be. But I might still have a while to find what I've always been looking for. Somebody who sees me as a wonderful person, like I see other people. Anyway, this is getting really long, so thanks for listening. I'm sorry that this is just so depressing, but I was really hoping it would make some kind of impact on somebody. Maybe looking at that grave, Sylvia's grave. Death is really final. You can't say oops once you pull the trigger. It's just final. You're done. You're gone. You cease to exist. You're put in the ground. Eventually the people who loved you are gone, and you're just on a marker. You're some strange name on a marker nobody knows. This is our time to live. This time is all we have. People with depression need to know this is not something to be ashamed of. This is an illness just like any other illness, just like cancer or heart disease or anything else. You can't help it. It's just unfortunately one that you don't have friends calling you, telling you that they're thinking of you or asking you if you're okay. It's an illness you really do have to walk alone. Like you're dead and you're not dead, but you sometimes feel like you might as well be dead. But every day that you keep going, every day that you keep fighting, is one day closer to something that you haven't found yet that maybe might be the thing that you didn't think you ever could deserve. Anyway, thank you for listening. I hope this video can help somebody. I hope Sylvia's death and my sitting here in the middle of a cemetery crying makes some kind of impact on somebody who might be thinking about suicide. It's just not worth it. I think if Sylvia could talk right now, she would say how incredibly sorry she is that she pulled the trigger.